know if it's just going to be some personal use drugs or a load being smuggled into the country.
It wasn't smuggling this time, but in a city where drug abuse is so widespread, arresting the individual with 3 bags of cocaine sends a tough law enforcement message. But for one of Detroit's biggest drug traffickers, cocaine will always be second best.
Coke is a good form of money, don't get me wrong. But when you're dealing with that blow is number one. I started with heroin. I'm gonna finish with heroin too. It's always gonna be the #1 seller on the street. You ain't gonna never find nothing better than the blow.
Having begun his career as a street dealer, Brick is now an international drug trafficker.
I consider the cartel as family. You know what I'm saying? They called me and told me they had 5,000 keys. I ain't scared. I'm into that. I know what I'm getting myself into. 35% of the drugs that reach Detroit is from something I know about. I can make a bunch of things happen from one city to the next and one country to the next. We really do run deep all over.
To make serious money in a city as poor as Detroit, a successful trafficker needs to control retail as well as distribution.
This is the main part of my tool. It counts everything. You see how I did that, and I ain't did that in years. I had guys that sit at the table and do it, but I still ain't forgot how to do it.
Brick makes a good profit selling heroin wholesale, but when his crew sells directly to users, he can triple his money.
I learned a long time ago, never forget about the little people, because the little people dollars count. If I bought a key for $170,000 to China White, I could get probably like maybe $275 on weight. But if I was to do little people, it would be more like $500,000-$600,000. So you'd be $400,000-$500,000 in the game. The market in Detroit is the little people. The little people controls the market.
In the past, Brick sold drugs out of abandoned properties, known as trap houses. Now his crew have diversified their retail operation.
Trapping is like a thing of the past is when you got one house. But trap is the whole city now. You know what I'm saying? It's like we might be at the gas station. We might be at a corner. We might be on a skateboard, been in a corner. They got blow in their pocket. They got rock in their pocket. But you can't pull everybody over because they on a bike and on a skateboard. It just don't work.
Brick sells drugs across the whole of Detroit. Although there's a ready market in the suburbs, Brick won't expand his operation beyond 8 Mile, the city line.
Our state is a very prejudiced state. When you cross 8 Mile and you're from Detroit, your plates says you're from Detroit. Well, if you fit a certain look, the officers out there, they want to pull you over. They just want to search. Make sure you ain't got nothing. And I don't think that's cool. I think that's racial profiling. So I wouldn't go over to the other counties and shut up shop because my office is Detroit. I got what they want, so why I gotta go anywhere? The hell I need to go chase you and catch you and get you something. You want something, I got it. You gonna come get it.
In recent years, thousands of young suburban customers have flooded into Detroit to buy heroin. And while overdose deaths have increased in the suburbs, they've also improved sales as addicts look to buy stronger dope.
Once you kill 1 or 2 of them with the blow, you got customers running from everywhere. Not purposely kill them. They kill themselves, but once a person dies from it, everybody and their mama want one of them. Hurry up and sell me one of them. That's what they say.
It's not only inner city Detroit that has been blighted by drugs. On the back of prescription pill abuse, the wealthy, predominantly white suburbs of Oakland and Macomb have seen an explosion of heroin addiction in recent years. Milford Township is in Oakland County, 41 miles northwest of Detroit.
We're in Milford, the city where I live. It's about 45 minutes from Detroit. We're about a half mile from my house. Kind of what Milford's like. There's a party store there, Dairy Queen, a restaurant and bar. Then there's Kensington Park over there. I like to go for walks in there, rollerblade, bike ride. I also go in there and use heroin.
Although there's been a rapid rise in heroin abuse in the suburbs, tough sentencing guidelines have deterred dealers from setting up shop.
It's hard to score good heroin in the suburbs. It's not as good, and you got to spend more.
So every day, Justin makes the 41-mile journey from Milford Township to inner city Detroit.
I'd rather live in the suburbs. It's a lot nicer out here, safer. When we cross 8 Mile coming into Detroit, you notice trash all over the streets. No abandoned buildings. And it's also very dangerous. I'd have to come basically every day, just depending on how much dope I get. And there's always a chance something could happen to you down here.
When you're buying drugs in Detroit's roughest neighborhoods, the relatively rich out-of-towners risk getting robbed and even murdered.
You know, it's mostly the younger white kids that are doing the heroin. The younger African-American kids that live in the city selling it.
First, you'll see the suburban kids, they're coming down. Can you get any pills? Can you get any Xanax? A month later, can you get any Oxycontins? And it always leads to right here, heroin. The suburban kids, or the suburban clientele, what tends to happen after so long being addicted to the drug, they end up becoming Detroit clientele. Because for whatever the reasons, they end up leaving the area that they were in to be closer to their needs, and they end up down here somewhere. But the suburban kids supply, at least, for me personally, 60 to 65% of my business.
When the suburban clientele get to Detroit, they can buy some of the highest quality heroin in the country. Heroin flows into the city from Asia, South and Central America. Widespread availability of the drug means that Detroit dope is often 10% purer than the national average. So street dealers like John can put a bigger cut on it.
When you buy heroin, your object is to get a quality that you can put a cut on to make your money. So if you bought an $80 gram, you can make anywhere from $160 to $200 for the gram. If you bought a gram for $140, that means it's a better quality. Then you can put 75% cut or 80% cut on your product. That way you can triple or sometimes even quadruple your money. I think it's a horrible drug. It attacks the body and makes the body want to need it. But from a business perspective, I think it's the greatest thing next to sliced bread.
36 District Court.
Leading the fight against heroin abuse in Detroit's suburb of Macomb are deputies of the county sheriff's office. Macomb County is located 20 miles northeast of downtown Detroit on the I-94. Today, the sheriff's undercover narcotics team are following a Macomb resident who is traveling deep into Detroit to buy dope.
What's our target ride?
Lighter blue Impala.
Okay. When we come into a neighborhood, the neighborhoods know who should be there and who shouldn't be there, especially individuals that are dealing in this type of trade. They know their general customers, and they know who should be driving through their neighborhoods. So we have to be very conscious of what we're doing, because otherwise our cars will be burned, they'll know who we are, and we won't be successful in targeting anything that we want to target.
The sheriff's team followed the suspect off the freeway and towards the dope house, surrounded by lookouts.
I'm a couple blocks off, but yeah, I'm on the street. See that kid that just went by? All he's doing is watching. So we have to be a little careful.
As they pull up to the dope house, there's a problem.
Heads up. He's gonna go right there. Damn it.
The suspect stopped earlier than expected. Lieutenant Danos has to pass him, potentially blowing his cover.
These people are looking at us right now. So they know who's in the neighborhood. They know the police. I'm gonna go out of the car. He's out of the car. There he goes. He ran across the street.
The suspect has entered the dope house to buy his heroin.
You'll see a kid run out with a white t-shirt on in a minute. Here he goes. Get your camera down.
The sheriff's team must follow him for nearly 30 miles through torrential rain without alerting him before they can make an arrest in Macomb County.
This is not good.
After crossing the county line, the sheriff's team can now make an arrest.
We call it ducks in a row right now. We're just waiting for the right time.
But the torrential rain and heavy traffic make the takedown of a potentially armed suspect a complex operation.
We will hit them when we want to take them down.
Then suddenly, the car pulls over. To the team's surprise, the driver of the car is an elderly gentleman. The sniffer dog soon uncovers multiple packets of heroin.
Grandpa don't even know about this, but he takes you down there every day. It's not really my full grandpa, but it kind of helps me.
As Lieutenant Daniels goes to interview the old man, the addict is arrested.
Got in an accident at work a month ago, got put on Vicodin, and I'm an addict, and that kind of started my aspiration of starting to use drugs again.
As another suburban youth moves from prescription pills to heroin, the wider community is dragged down with him.
His story to us is that he's staying with this older gentleman. He probably did not really have a clue as to why he was taken down to the city of Detroit. When you get a young man that is addicted to heroin or narcotics, they can be very manipulative. I can guarantee you that if this relationship continued, that this old man would have had paid with either his money, his possessions, to subsidize or to support this kid's heroin problem.
Back in the suburb of Milford, Justin has just returned from Detroit, having scored a $10 hit of heroin.
I'd come to the woods to use, because I don't like using in my house. Anyway, I ain't got to worry about getting caught by a family member.
Having finished his 82-mile round trip, Justin's journey ends with a shot in the arm.
I got about a 6-inch scar here. I'm shooting up. I always like to just go there. I don't want to ruin all my veins. I wait till I see blood, and draw back, and then push it in. And that's it. It's just soothing. Kind of takes away all my worries, like my future. What am I gonna do? How am I gonna support myself? I just wanna try to do something. I don't wanna just continue using heroin and looking for bottles the rest of my life. You can start on prescription drugs and move on up. Heroin's cheaper, so why not use heroin? And then once you start messing around a needle, it's, you know, there's nothing else. Nothing else is good enough anymore. You gotta have that. There's no substitute.
Although many people have fled Detroit to the suburbs, in recent years, the city has seen a huge influx of artists, activists, and radical thinkers. With new people come new drugs.
Detroit does have a reputation for crack and heroin, but there is definitely an emergence of a new type of drug, DMT. Dimethyltryptamine. It's the strongest psychedelic in the world.
The active ingredient to synthesize DMT is readily available on the internet.
Mimosa hostilis is bark that originates in Brazil.
The mimosa plant is native to Southern and Central America. Like ayahuasca, which also contains DMT, it has been used by native peoples in religious ceremonies for hundreds of years. To extract the DMT from the bark, Merlin must add several ingredients before cooking the mixture.
I put enough vinegar in here that it's going to start to be real plumpy. I'm going to add naphtha now to the mixture, and the naphtha fumes are pretty strong, so you want a ventilation.
The DMT is extracted into the naphtha, a highly flammable and volatile liquid that will explode if lit.
You want the naphtha to completely cover the bark.
Merlin places the naphtha mimosa mixture onto the stove with an open flame.
This is a dangerous process. If any of the naphtha was to be in contact with a flame, it would be a serious fire.
After cooking the mixture, Merlin removes it from the stove. The DMT has now been extracted into the naphtha.
That's got naphtha and DMT crystals in there. What will happen now is when you place this in the freezer, the DMT crystals will form and separate from the naphtha, and what you'll be left with is pure DMT crystals.